introduce a woman who loves variety when you give us the Sophie Lee story.
This is the story of Sophie Lee. Got a start on cartoon TV. Got people watching to see every slinky link of Miss Sophie Lee. Oh, Sophie Lee has broken free. The freaked out flower child now plays her roles in the cinema key. Yeah, plays her roles in the cinema key. That's Sophie Lee.
Yes, thanks very much for coming in, Sophie. And we've got a clip to start with from Muriel's wedding. And I should set the scene. You've married. Things haven't gone so well on your wedding night, and you've come back to the club to compare notes with mates. Here we see a cracker of a scene.
He couldn't do it. So I and I noticed there was lipstick on it. Oh, his dick! He said he was having an affair.
Who is?
Rose Biggs.
Rose Biggs?
Well, he said they don't sleep together. She only sucks him off.
Why?
Out of respect for me.
Bitch. Bastard.
What am I gonna do? I'm a bride.
A beautiful reading. Yes. Now, you grew up in a household without television. How did you spend your time?
Well, we talked to each other quite a bit.
Yes.
And I suppose read a few more books than maybe the other people that I caught the school bus with. And
Did the family row about not having a television or getting a television?
yes, we did. We arced up majorly every day. And if I ever went to a neighbour's house, you could not prise me away from the TV set.
When you got a television, what were the first shows you watched? What did you miss? What did you feel deprived of by not having a television?
Shows like Hawaii Five-0 and,
yes. Good
you know,
ones, in
there's
other
so many shows that, yeah, good shows like that I couldn't join in the conversation at school.
You weren't, you didn't have a family that played a lot of cards and got good at musical instruments without the television?
What do you mean?
Well, I was thinking of, you know, in the olden days, I can't remember these days, but I'm told that people used to play the piano and sing when this is before television was invented.
Right.
And they would sing, you know, Roll Out the Barrel and I Like It Both Ways and things like that as a way of entertaining themselves.
Getting together.
And often cards was another thing. Now, cards, you know, play bridge and this would occupy, and sometimes canasta might be played, or fish or things like this would be played as a way of passing the hours between, say, you know, sundown and after tea and, you know, when it was time to go to bed.
Well, it's interesting you say that. But what I was going to say was that I used to play the euphonium,
yes,
and my brother played the trumpet.
Yes.
So we'd play harmonies of the Austrian national anthem together to amuse ourselves.
Right, right. Now,
Did your mates think your family were weird?
Yeah.
Did you ever have mates around and they'd say, well, where's the TV? And nothing there. And so you'd sit around and Dad and Mum would talk and you'd get out the cards and play euchre. And
Get out the euphonium.
Yeah.
And
Play
the Austrian national anthem.
It'd be like, Kay, can I come over to your joint?
Yes.
Mainly,
Yes.
But would people treat it as an eccentric thing? Let's go over to Sophie's, they haven't got television. What? They haven't got television? Then I better get round there and have a look how they pass the time.
I
give you a
hope
wide
so.
berth.
I hope that was the way it was. Anyway, look, I really enjoyed it. I'm kind of glad that we didn't have a
Now,
TV.
your dad lectures in philosophy.
Yes, he's recently retired.
Recently retired, so he's probably an emeritus professor now. Mum was a teacher. Did he? Well, I mean, was there much talk about philosophy in the household? Was it all Socrates and Plato and this sort of stuff?
Yeah, indeed. I mean, look, meal times were interesting, and Dad would often have competitions where he'd say for 20 cents which pope in the year 13 such and such
Yes.
did something or other that I had absolutely no idea, but I had
Pope Gregory, probably.
Yes, probably Pope Gregory or Pope Trevor.
Yes.
And I have another brother who's pretty cluey. He's a political historian, and at the age of 8 he'd pipe up with, you know, Pope John the 13th. Or...
Did you have a favourite subject matter, though? Like, say, the Women's Weekly from 1920 to 1931? Or something like that. Was there an area of expertise that you had acquired without the television there to tell you anything?
Just the euphonium.
Just
really,
the euphonium. So when you got to the note that begins the Austrian national anthem, you got the 20 cents.
That's right.
Yeah.
So was it disappointing when you ended up on TV and Mum and Dad weren't watching?
It was ironic, certainly.
Yes. Did they get a TV as a result?
They have a TV now.
Right.
Do they watch it?
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Yeah. And they got the TV because you appeared on it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, look, I'm not quite sure.
Yes.
I'm not sure.
You're not sure?
It could be. Yes.
Yeah, okay. And so when you left Channel 9, I think I read where you said you wanted to be your own boss. Now, you are your own boss now. You've left that sort of nonsense behind, and now you're doing theatre and films. Now, what was it like? I think you started off doing Sirens. It might have been in Western Australia, is that right?
This year I did David Williamson's play Siren,
Yeah.
but when I began working in the theatre, I did a lot of fringe theatre, places like La Mama in Carlton in Melbourne and Theatre Works in St Kilda. And I was fortunate enough to work with a new young playwright in Australia called Harry Cripps,
Right.
and collaborated on a lot of his works. And so that was a great way to learn and try and improve, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's more work coming, obviously, in that direction.
Yeah. Well, after that I worked with the MTC, and last year I worked out at Q Theatre and Playbox I like doing new Australian plays. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Now, the media were pretty harsh on you, pretty cruel towards you, weren't they? Especially your sort of, what we loosely describe as women's magazines, I suppose. Why was that? Because I would have thought the relationship between Nine and particular magazines that were a bit harsh on you was reasonably close. Why did they dud on you? Why?
Well, it's hard to come across as, you know, an intellectual giant when all you're being asked are things like, who's your favourite cartoon character and what's your favourite colour?
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of those magazines have a this sort of idea of there's only a certain amount of categories that women can fit into, and I don't think they try to capture the person as they come across to them. They're waiting for that quote, or they're waiting for the hook that makes it easier to write, I suppose. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So was that sort of disappointing to you when you'd read rubbish?
Yeah. At the time when I was working at Nine, I had 3 jobs, so I was working really hard, and I probably should have read more of my publicity than I did have time to. Or it was like being swept up in trying to get enough sleep to get through the next day and everything. So obviously when I did stop and look at what the publicity was like, I had a nervous breakdown. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, well,
not really,
everyone does.
Yes,
Yeah,
of course.
You know, if Roy and I wanted to become actors, how would we go about it in terms of, in terms of what sort of training would you suggest for a couple of boofs like us? Do you think a new Australian playwright should be the way to go?
What, a two-hander, just to play about two blokes that sit around and talk about rubbish?
Do you think that, I suppose I'm asking what sort of training in performing you've had apart from doing it?
Yeah.
And whether the training's been useful?
It has, it really has. When I'm not working, or when I kind of dropped out, I spend a lot of time doing different kinds of workshops, and all sort of varying ones, like mask work or voice work or solo work, all things that give you different skills and just help you be a more rounded performer. Yeah. So there's always classes available to do, and there's always areas to improve.
Do you think Roy and I would need voice work?
No, not at all.
No. Well, you did young people's theatre in Newcastle, in Hamilton probably. So you've been performing ever since you were a young kiddie.
Yeah, I probably would have liked to have gone to young people's theatre a bit more than I did.
Yeah, okay. And you're a bit of a Chomsky buff. Speaking of philosophy, you're a Chomsky buff, is that right?
I like his work. I had the opportunity to write a piece about that for the State Film Centre down in Victoria. And it was just good to sit down and review those tapes thoroughly. Manufacturing Consent, which is it's an interesting look at the media.
Yes, yes. And living in Melbourne now, do you get to the casino much?
Nope.
Do you like the casino?
Well, I haven't been there, so...
Why haven't you been to the casino?
Have you driven past it? Have you seen the things that blow off on the half hour? You know, the things out the front there, the boom.
It's not a casino, it's an entertainment
Oh, you
complex.
forget that. A family entertainment
Family
complex
entertainment.
where the kiddies can be left safely in the car. That's one of the great functions. Yes. I see the Lonely Planet this week have come out and said that Melbourne's become slightly lopsided because of the casino, which I found very, very hard to believe.
Yes.
That I can't see why people wouldn't want to get along there. They'd treat it just like the Royal Show, 24 hours a day.
Yeah. And I think Barry Humphries has bagged the casino
has
as
he?
well.
He hasn't come out, has he?
Yes, he has, he has. Now, why don't you get along to the bloody casino, Sophie, and check it out?
Enjoy
It's
it.
fab.
Do you like the casino?
We love the bloody casino. Especially the high rollers room.
Can I ask a question about getting work now? Is a certain amount of notoriety helpful to a career in Australia? I mean, if Roy and I were serious about the acting thing, you know, would it be wise to be, say, in our case, I'm trying to think of an equivalent.
Well, we do a show about sex.
Yes, I suppose we would. Yes, so
Would that be, would that be helpful if we did? From a bloke's point of view?
you know, sort of.
Would that give us a leg up?
Does notoriety help though?
Look, I don't think if there's a particular sort of work that you want to do, notoriety sometimes doesn't help. What helps is trying to improve your skills and just try to get your foot in the door to auditions.
Sure.
I've turned away a lot of scripts that, you know, are looking for the part of the girl in the red dress who breaks up in marriage or whatever,
Yes.
and sort of just queued up with the rest of everybody and tried to audition for things that I wanted to do, and may the best man get the job, sort of thing.
Now, The Castle, that was shot in about 11 days, wasn't
Yeah,
it? Enormously successful. Great fun to do.
Fantastic fun to do and very funny to do. Very hard not to laugh. You know.
And speaking of the castle, we've got a clip. You're married again. You return to the family home, which is the symbol of the castle, and talk to Dad. Let's have a look at it now.
This place is going to win the cars. How's it selling?
Good.
And look at these models. Now, they've got ripper bodies, but they let themselves down in the hair department. You ought to contact Channel 9. Get a contract with them.
Dad, it doesn't work like that.
Well, look at them and look at you. I mean, now that is a head of hair. Just beautiful.
Thanks, Dad.
When you signed when you signed on, did you know you were going to make it in 11.5 days, or did they just run out of time?
No,
wanted to do it in
they
10?
specified. Yeah, they said at the beginning that it was going to be shot in super tight schedule.
And how did they do it? Did no second takes? You just did it in one?
Yeah, lots of one takes and wide coverage, not going in for millions of close-ups. But I think the thing that made it possible to shoot it in such a short amount of time was that the script was absolutely perfect. It didn't need to be changed, or there was no discussion on the set of, you know, I can't make this work. Everything was perfect on the page, which makes it much easier to.
Yes.
Create
I don't suppose
the
you
work.
took points instead of a fee in it.
No.
No. The film has been phenomenally successful. Is it likely that they would reprise this idea at all, or is there any suggestion that they would...
Castle 2.
Castle 2.
Castle 2, the spin-off sitcom with... No, I don't know. I think they're moving on to other diverse projects. Yes.
And it was shot in appalling conditions in the middle of a Melbourne winter.
That's right.
And they were lucky with the weather.
Not.
Well, unlucky with the weather.
Yeah, no, it was very muddy and cold, but it was fun nevertheless.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you're looking for scripts now, do you have characters that you aim towards, or do you accept, you know, some people say, oh, well, you know, we'd love to play Lady Macbeth or, you know, Juliet or something like that, but obviously...
I'll tell you what my dream is.
Yes?
Edie Sedgwick, to play Edie Sedgwick.
Yeah, Edie Sedgwick, yeah.
The tragic.
And she was a model of sorts, wasn't she?
Well, she was Andy Warhol's muse, really.
Yes, that's right.
And she was a tragic, mixed-up lady, but shit, that'd be a good character to play.
Is the, you know, the new Australian playwright Cripps writing about Edie Sedgwick, or could you school him in that direction?
He's not. Maybe I should steer him in that direction.
Yes.
Edie Sedgwick in Australia.
Yeah, well, the two are down under.
Yes.
That's right.
Edie
down under.
Yes.
Okay. And on that cheerful note, it's time to wish Sophie all the best on a variety action-packed future. And I ask all Club Buggery viewers, whether they're at home or here in the Doty, to get out the freaked-out flower children's sacks and have a toot as a way of thank Sophie Lee.